the subject equipped by God of peace to do His will. I know my wife and I have enjoyed it very much these past 4 days to be with you and to have met so many more of you to become our friends in the ever-growing global organization of Jehovah's people. Jehovah knows what we all need to do His will. And He's repeatedly demonstrated this on behalf of His servants in ancient times and in modern times too. And these timely provisions are brought to us at these conventions, these district conventions. The Bible says, "For God your Father knows what things you are needing before ever you ask." And so many at the convention say when there are new releases or new points made, "My, this is just what we need." We've had a problem like that just recently in our congregation. Here it's answered at the convention or circuit assembly. The entire program these past 4 days has made clear what Jehovah's will is concerning peace. And peace is not going to come through man's efforts. It's divine peace that we want. And it's the divine peace that will last for all eternity. So this subject, divine peace, has proved to be most appropriate and significant. We all agree. Because Jehovah is absolutely the God of peace. And He alone knows how true peace will come to mankind and when. We know that peace is a fruit of the Spirit. There are 9 of such: love, joy, peace. Peace is the third. And as we become acquainted with Jehovah through His Word and through the congregation and working together, why, there's a flow of Spirit. And so this Spirit in our midst makes for peace. So indeed, peace is a fruitage of God's Spirit. We all are finding ourselves in the midst of a war-torn world, you might say, a world in turmoil, and therefore a condition that is peace is more important than ever before to us and, of course, to the world of mankind. So we're all determined then, after this very fine convention, to be returning home to our various congregations, continuing to pursue the way of peace. Jehovah has been teaching us, as Isaiah 54:13 says, and we have been taught here during the past 4 days. And this is in line with Hebrews 13:20, where again, which has been one of the theme texts of our convention, that Jehovah is the God of peace. And the governing body, made up of 13 brothers at the present time, are very much interested in peace continuing in our midst, and in this peaceful condition to be able to press forward in the marvelous work we have to do. It's constantly a delight on the part of the governing body. We have meetings every Wednesday, sometimes the whole day. There are so many items that have to be taken up. But it's always a delight and a joy to see constant growth, expansion, enlargement of Jehovah's work. And it always becomes apparent after discussing certain facts and input from the field and from the branches or from traveling overseers that there's just this one way to go. And let's all go that way and then the other way. So it's like a zigzagging back and forth like the children of Israel during the days of the wilderness. And Christ Jesus is leading us on wonderfully through the wilderness of this old world. So indeed, the brothers worldwide now are being guided and directed in these last days. And Jehovah has made abundant provisions for us, not only here in Amarillo and in this continent out west, but in all parts of the earth. Some of us, of course, have been sent out by the governing body to visit the brothers in various parts of the earth. In the last year, my wife and I served in Japan and the North Pacific, Korea, Taiwan, Philippine Islands. And in all these areas, the expansion is remarkable. Japan, for example, I spoke to 175,000 brothers there to present my zone visit talk. And then the building program then. They're in the midst now of further developing their 11-acre size Bethel factory premises. And the only way they can do now is go up higher. So they're building another 8-story Bethel building. And another factory, 6 floors high, plus 2 extra that would be used for accommodations. So there we have a modern miracle of Jehovah's work expanding in a total pagan land. And then last December and January, we were in Africa and saw the tremendous work that's going on there. We even were in South Africa, where we read of violence and troubles. And there we had one of the great modern miracles of a large convention in Johannesburg and Durban of 77,000. And we had brothers there, European brothers, Afrikaners. We had brothers, the Indian brothers there. And then we had various local tribes, people of 10 different tribes. And there was a total integration on the part of white, blacks, and coloreds. And we were all gathered together as a marvelous people of Jehovah God. And you know, during the whole 4 days of the convention, there wasn't one newspaper article, there wasn't one TV or radio announcer there. The government kept total silence as to this great miracle and demonstration in modern times of people of various different racial backgrounds being able to get together and serve and to praise Jehovah God. Well, now let's come back to this convention, its organization, which has equipped us in various ways. This convention has been under the direction of the society. We've had a convention committee here, and this convention committee has worked well, has set up various departments, such as the attendance department, bookroom department, cleaning, field service, food service, stage, sound, and all these have served us well. And we should not be taking all these arrangements for granted. It's required hard work and organization, and we certainly appreciate it all. And this convention organization developed in harmony, or operated in harmony with 1 Corinthians 14:40, where it says, "But let all things take place decently and by arrangement." And you know, brothers, that we had 1,100 volunteer workers to serve all these various departments. And do you say that they have served us well? And the things that take place. So we, the 6,349, indeed thank our 1,100 brothers who have served us so well, indeed. And do we also want to thank all the brothers who have been the speakers and those who have shared in the 2 very fine dramas that we've had and taken lots of hard work to get ready for those dramas and those talks. We thank them too for their service. So the convention here has run smoothly. We have an interesting note here that the society has provided, how we are a modern spectacle, not only in this country, but around the world as far as our convention organization is concerned. A newspaper in Argentina said regarding the orderliness of a huge convention in Buenos Aires, attended by 57,000 earlier this year. Quote, the organization of the Jehovah's Witnesses District Convention almost bordered on perfection. Everything has been foreseen, and each of the aspects that make up this type of convention, sound, crowd, control, feeding, cleaning, was planned several months in advance. Despite the fact that leaders spent all day at the stadium, the facilities were impeccably clean, and tonight, at the conclusion of the yearly meeting, they will hand over the monumental stadium in optimum hygienic condition. End of quote. I'm sure that's going to be a similar situation for us here. Then he goes on to mention about the conventions in Poland last August. My wife and I had the privilege of being there, along with Brother and Sister Harris, Brother and Sister Henschel, and Brother and Sister Sidley, and hundreds of Americans. We were all there in Poland for those 4 remarkable conventions behind the Iron Curtain, which totaled 94,000. And it was just like as if Jehovah was opening up the gates to the east and showing us that Jehovah has multitudes of the great crowd even in these faraway eastern countries, even though they may be under communist political control. Well, the quotation the Society has for us here is, and this was from a newspaper, the group staged large religious rallies in Warsaw, Wrocław, Poznan, and Katowice, amazing everyone with the extreme order and cleanliness they left behind. And one stadium manager said, they're the only group that leaves a sports arena in better shape than they found it. This is from the Polish-American Journal. Yes, I got the experience to be with our holy brothers there. I had the privilege of appearing on the national TV in Poland, and they made the TV right at Warsaw there, right on the convention grounds. Now, as far as the convention here, we're glad to note that 1,600 approximately shared in the field service, and 11 Bible studies were started, so that's very good. And it's been a pleasure dealing with the auditorium maintenance and management personnel, and we want to thank them for their cooperation during the past 4 years. We have some comments here from the building supervisor. The building supervisor said people should be interested in Jehovah's Witnesses coming to their city because of the kind of people they are and the good work they're doing rather than the money. So we're glad to have those comments. And the manager of a motel mentioned here, I just wanted to tell you people that you have the best children. You hardly even know they are here. They are just like miniature adults. In fact, they're better than most adults. And I want you to know that I told the representative that signed me up, I wasn't too sure about having all your children here. I had a nervous breakdown about a year ago after having several groups with their many children at another motel. But your children were just wonderful. Excellent television coverage during the past 4 days. All stations used the releases provided in the news packets sent by the Society. Many of us saw the news report on the 10 o'clock Channel 4 television Friday night. Excellent. And it featured our house-to-house ministry. The Amarillo newspapers have printed every release also from the packet. And we had some very fine coverage in the newspaper. We appreciate that. And then it's mentioned here that a clergyman from a nearby city telephoned some of the news media and offered them an interview with one of the excommunicated leaders of Jehovah's Witnesses, and that they should try to get one of the officials, the New York officials, to appear on the radio or TV with this excommunicated leader. So the brothers here explained that the society brought the convention to the city, and that is the only matter that we're truly interested in, and that's the only matter that's truly newsworthy. And so the media facility understood our position and did pursue this clergyman's invitation. And we're glad for that, of course. Announced yesterday, we're pleased to recognize that we have 85 new brothers and sisters in our midst here. There are 38 brothers and 47 sisters baptized. We certainly welcome them to our united family of believers. So this gives us a glimpse of our 4 days here at this Amarillo District Convention. Incidentally, about the field service, we had about 30% of our publishers in the field. Incidentally, at the Nairobi Kenya Convention this last December, where I attended, how many do you think went into the field service there? Of the thousands that attended the convention. 80% went into house-to-house work that time. Well, maybe you'll do better next time. Now, what about the convention releases? Will they help us to do God's will? Will they equip us? Is this part of the equipment from the God of peace? Yes, indeed. Thursday afternoon, in the concluding talk, the speaker released a new 32-page magazine-sized brochure, and we've already had a good chance to look at it. Look, I make all things new. This should prove to be a very fine instrument in helping us to start many more home Bible studies. In past, we enjoyed using booklets with this title, but having the brochure with its illustrations should be a boon to our work. So this very fine new publication, which is easy to read, large print, and space between the lines, it has every advantage to encourage people to consider study. So this will be like an instrument, a little bridge between our first call, and then maybe after 2 calls we'll be able to have the regular Bible study in our other publications. The brothers in Japan, I spoke to 85 of the missionaries there a year ago, and they've been using this booklet for years, and now with this updated booklet, it certainly should enhance the work there and all over the world much more in helping us to get many more Bible studies. We're all convinced it's by getting Bible studies and pursuing such studies that many new ones get their eyes open and take their stand in the truth. So we're grateful to Jehovah indeed for this new instrument. For some time, many have felt the need to have something in compact form to use when directing new ones to the organization. Now we have such a publication in the new brochure, Jehovah's Witnesses Unitedly Doing God's Will Worldwide, and this was released, as you know, on Friday morning. So our Kingdom Ministry will have further suggestions how we may use this very fine 32-page brochure that will give basic information as to our society, its 100 years of operation, and what we're doing, and the preaching work, and all this will show them that Jehovah's organization is not like any church organization in Christendom. It's altogether different and is doing a wonderful, progressive, positive Bible educational work. Then Saturday afternoon, after listening to the explanation of the modern-day application of the prophecies of Isaiah, chapters 7, 8, and 9, how glad we were to receive the new pocket-sized book entitled Worldwide Security Under the Prince of Peace. Some of you no doubt have already had a chance to read much of it. This book is so gripping in connection with this worldwide conspiracy we were talking about Saturday in the United Nations, and how Satan is craftily using that to eventually get to destroy Babylon the Great, and then our turn would be next. Really, many of us in New York have already read this. It's so gripping, you practically read the whole thing in one sitting. This book, to me, is of the same order of many of our older publications. It really contains the fire of Jehovah's Holy Spirit when you read this. So the purpose of this book is for our use in the congregation book studies, that we may increase our zeal and spiritual strength in Jehovah's service. So we look forward to using that in our congregations. To add to our collection of Kingdom Melodies cassette tapes, we had them released this morning. Now, there was to have been another release, but we would like to present the Society's information about this release, which will become available in September. All of us appreciate very much the help provided by the series of Watchtower Publications indexes in finding answers to our Bible questions and application of Bible principles in our lives. Even so, we may have found a measure of inconvenience in having to look through a number of volumes and or booklets before finally finding the desired reference. Today, we're pleased to announce that the Society has prepared a single volume that covers all the indexes we have released thus far, and additionally includes up to 1985. It is called the Watchtower Publications Index from 1930, including up to 1985. It looks like the 8th book. It is printed on Bible paper, so it is very convenient to use, being only about the size of a magazine-bound volume. While we do not have a supply at this convention, you'll be happy to know that this new index may be ordered by a congregation starting September 1st, 1986. It will be available to congregation publishers for $7, and the pioneer rate is $4.50. A fine new feature of this index is the fact that both the questions from readers from the Watchtower and question box from our Kingdom Ministry have been indexed in one place, so that you will have ready access to the helpful answers that have been provided over the many years. Efforts have been made to harmonize the headings which have varied over the years. But for a broader scope of information, you will find that in using the index, it will be rewarding to check the additional headings listed under C also. We hope that this new, easy-to-use research aid will prove to be a stimulus to our personal study, as well as a real assistance to the elders as they endeavor to shepherd the flock of God using the valuable information provided through the faithful discreet slave over the years. So we're all happy now to soon be getting this marvelous aid in our Bible study work. Now we're equipped for global activity. Yes, years ago we used to have sort of a narrower view, just the American view of things. But today, in Brooklyn, the view of every department always is, ours is the world center. Brooklyn is the center of a global activity. So according to the 1986 yearbook, there are 49,716 congregations in all the earth, but that number has now grown over 50,000. And just think of the new kingdom halls that this calls for, the increased congregations that are coming to associate. In the United States this past service year, scores of new kingdom halls were constructed. Already loans from the Society's Kingdom Hall Fund have been provided to congregations in 44 states. And I'm glad to hear, too, that we have Kingdom Hall building committees in this part of the country, the southwest, where there are these quick-build Kingdom Halls in 2 days or 4 days, whatever it is. And so that's good to see. So we hope that you brothers in this country and so many other countries, we've got an assembly hall. But we understand you brothers in this part of the country have no such need. You have good auditoriums and schools that are available for the present. But there are assembly halls being built in many countries: Argentina, Britain, Canada, West Germany, and the United States. One assembly hall was constructed in 9 days on Vancouver Island in Canada. The newspaper commented, even attempting such a momentous task with volunteer labor is worthy of praise. To do it in 9 days deserves sheer awe. It's a lesson in setting goals and attaining them, an example of pulling together to realize a benefit for the common good. To do this cheerfully without arguing, dissension, or glory-grabbing is the mark of true Christianity. Indeed, that is so. So time, effort, and financial and other resources for such projects are unstintingly contributed by Jehovah's people. This all indicates that they are strongly impelled to advance Jehovah's worship. Now, what about the branches? Well, we've already read about many branches building new facilities, and this still continues to be the situation. We are building new or enlarged facilities in many further countries, and we now know, of course, that Jehovah's Witnesses are found in 200 different lands of the earth, and the Bethel families have had to grow and grow to be staffed to supervise this worldwide expansion. And so the International Bethel family today stands at 8,400 members. And all of us of this International Bethel family around the earth are thankful for the generous support of brothers who contribute for the kingdom work and the Society's Kingdom Hall funds in the various countries. And because of Jehovah's blessing, we have every good thing to do His will as far as the headquarters and the branch headquarters are concerned. On every hand, there is the striking evidence of increasing global activity. 3 years ago, at the Kingdom Unity District Convention, it was reported that there were 43,000 publishers in Argentina. Now, there are 60,300. 3 years ago, Italy had 102,000. Today, Italy has 136,141. And Japan, 3 years ago, had 75,000. Today, 110,000. Mexico, our neighbor, right across the border here, reported 120,000 3 years ago. But what about today? That is April. April, 188,000. Isn't that wonderful? And the part of our brothers here in Mexico. And Mexico, last year, had at the memorial 781,000. And they haven't completed the memorial figures as yet this year, but it's likely to go way over 781,000. So Jehovah indeed has many, many good people in Mexico. Now, what about the United States? Well, we're not growing as fast as Mexico, but we have the Society's figures for the United States during the month of April. We had a new peak of publishers, 725,799. And this peak was reached this April. While the total numbers of auxiliary pioneers was not quite as high this year as last year, yet the combined totals of auxiliary regular pioneers for April constitute together a new peak, and surpassing last year by 5,100 more. So that indeed is excellent. We had our 7th peak this service year for regular pioneers reporting in meetings. Yes, it's a modern wonder to see how many of you are able to adjust your affairs now to really get into the regular pioneer service. And even talking to some of you here during the past 4 days, some of you already made plans to reduce your secular work to maybe 3 days, or to adjust your business affairs so you can almost semi-retire. And the idea is to get out there in the full-time work. And others of you, your families have now been raised, and so you now are able to make adjustments to get out there, you and your wife, in the pioneer service. So that indeed is commendable. We're glad to see that. Oh yes, the letter from the United States further says, during April there was an excellent response in the field to the book True Peace and Security. My, how that publication did go out during April and May. Over 1 million bound books were placed in April, this being our best month for bound book placements in more than 10 years. To accomplish the fine work done in April, over 15 million hours were spent in the Kingdom ministry. More return visits and home Bible studies were reported than ever before. Our brothers demonstrated a fine spirit of devotion and zeal. The memorial report for the United States this year is not yet complete. However, already we can tell you that we've reached another new memorial peak. So that concludes the news from the United States branch. So these figures give you an idea how Isaiah 2:2-4 is being fulfilled, how there indeed is a streaming of these good-hearted people up the mountain to the house of Jehovah for the purpose of being taught by him. And this convention certainly was evidence of that. They are figuratively beating their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning shears. Instead of learning the art of war, they are learning the art of living together in peace. How delightful they find this climate to be. Primary things with which we are now equipped. Jehovah has entrusted to us his inspired word, the Bible. It guides us in a way of peace. And we are encouraged to read and examine the Scriptures daily, as Psalm 1 and 2 so nicely presents to us. Happy is the man that has not walked in the counsel of the wicked ones, and in the way of sinners has not stood, and in the seat of ridiculers has not sat. But his delight is in the law of Jehovah, and in his law he reads in an undertone day and night. Incidentally, we're very happy, are we not, and delighted to have this new large reference Bible, which enables us to come to a deeper understanding of Jehovah's wonderful spiritual things. And incidentally, this Bible, with all its 11,000 footnotes, 125,000 marginal references, has already been released in Japan, released there last year when I was there, and this book is going to be released in Germany in this series of convention, Divine Peace, and in due time it will be released in Spanish, Portuguese, and other languages. So this all enables us all to proceed in coming to a deeper knowledge as we're equipped for such studies. In light of the prophetic word, we understand the meaning of our times and what lies ahead. The Scriptures clearly set out work we are to do. Preach the kingdom message Make disciples is still our work today to declare the divine purpose and excellencies of our God. Scriptures also provide direction for all aspects of our life, and for doing all things God reveals to be His will for us. Thus, we are equipped indeed for every good work. To energize us and make up for individual lack and enable each dedicated Christian to produce fruit each and to His praise, Jehovah gives us a measure of His Holy Spirit. It's just like during the past 4 days, while we've been seated here, listening to the talks and viewing these dramas, there's been a flow of the Holy Spirit through our minds and hearts. So this gives us courage to do Jehovah's will and to face increased difficulties, persecution, trials, rather than hold back in fear at such times, being reluctant or acting with spirit of cowardice. We have the spirit of love and soundness of mind. As congregations increase, overseers are needed, and so Jehovah, through His Son, has provided gifts and men who are equipped to handle various responsibilities. And that's why here at this convention we have talks to encourage you brothers and younger brothers to reach out, to become ministerial servants, and after ministerial servants to keep progressing and to reach out to become an elder. We need many, many more elders and ministerial servants. So we wish to encourage you young brothers. This is the time to accept the challenge and the invitation. Such men certainly do serve in the interest of peace with the congregation. They counsel accordingly, so as to reside in earnest and benefit the flock. These brothers work hard at personal study and preparation for meetings. Yes, we have some congregations that only have 2 or 3 elders. In Mexico, they have congregations, some don't even have 1 elder per congregation. So there's a great need for elders and ministerial servants. As a result, we are encouraged and better equipped to do God's will in the field and in other affairs. So let's all work hard together and benefit by personal study and preparation. And I also might note from a note I have here, we've been very happy that some of you brothers, many of you brothers, have been able to volunteer 2 weeks of your time to come to Bethel in Brooklyn to share in the heavy construction work that we're doing there. This has been of invaluable assistance in our great program there. As you heard, the Watchtower Farms in Bethel, Brooklyn, we are a total of 3,400. The city of New York has yet not given us permission to build that large 30-story building, which we are so much in need of, that will give us accommodation for 1,000 more Bethel workers. But until we get that okay, we have so much other construction work at Brooklyn. So we appreciate volunteer workers that have come to us, and you brothers have helped us indeed. Now, opposition and pressures continue to develop in various parts of the earth. Satan is that great peace wrecker. He's continuously on the job, and having been spiritually strengthened here, this should enable us to put up a strong fight for the faith. All of us are grateful for the spiritual suit of armor as Ephesians 6 so well describes for us. Vital part of this armor protect our mind and heart. Our feet are shod with the equipment of good news of peace. A large shield of faith quenches the devils and missiles or very forms of attack on our spirituality. Effectively wielding the sword of His Spirit, that's the Word, the Bible, and drawing close to God in prayer, enable us to stand firm in doing the will of our God. So, we are indeed wonderfully equipped by God, God of peace, to do His will. Now, we want to keep doing God's will in peace as we look to the future. So we have some very interesting, fascinating announcements to make. Now, this is the first one. This is the quotation that we speakers have been asked to present to you. Jehovah not only equips, but He refines His visible organization so as to accomplish as much as possible with the resources available. In recent years, progressive steps have been taken to simplify certain organizational procedures. We insert in as an insert in the August 1986 Our Kingdom Ministry, which will explain some further features of simplification affecting congregations and especially pioneers. This will conserve much time and effort at the Society's headquarters and its branches. So let's be on the lookout for the August issue of Our Kingdom Ministry. However, the governing body is planning to go beyond what Our Kingdom Ministry will describe in the August issue. Adjustments will be made affecting circuit and district overseers and their work, the scheduling of circuit assemblies and the use of assembly halls. This should result in quite a number of advantages to all concerned. This is all part of our being equipped by Jehovah to do His will and accommodate the increase in this season of ingathering. More information relative to the Society's simplification program will be provided in the future. Now that's excellent news. And the governing body already has taken steps beyond this in connection with simplification. In other words, what's now being started organizationally, we're being stripped down, trimmed down, a lot of fat taken off, so that we will be a strong, revitalized organization to withstand the great tribulation which is just ahead. So this is a time when this is now being done under Jehovah's guidance, Christ Jesus' direction, and the angels who are also involved. Now something more. Thrilling to see multitudes being taught Jehovah's ways, and then take steps to walk in His paths of divine peace. Adding significantly to this worldwide educational program are conventions arranged annually. And here comes one of our great changes. Looking ahead to 1987, the Society plans to hold 3-day district conventions. So we're trimming down from 4 to 3 days. And this will enable many of our brothers in other parts of the world that are having economic difficulties to be able to assemble, to be with us, to get the simultaneous information. So we here in the United States, along with our brothers all over the world, will drop down to full 3-day district conventions. So plan accordingly next year. In the United States, by arranging many throughout the country, and so there may be a few more local conventions, will be convenient not only for brothers, but for the thousands of new ones to be able to assemble with us. Now, we come to the great year 1988. If it be Jehovah's will, and things still move ahead somewhat like they are, for 1988, arrangements will be made in a number of larger countries, and that includes the United States, to have conventions tied in to hear portions of programs originating from key cities. In the United States, the governing body members will speak at these key cities. This will be similar to what was done in 1983 when the Kingdom Unity District Conventions were held. And So the governing body were able to speak to the brothers at all the conventions here in the United States, and that's what's being projected now for 1988. Would be appropriate also in connection with our missionaries. Now, you know, for many years, every 5 years is an outstanding assembly program. And the society arranges to bring back all the thousands of missionaries back to their home country. So 1988 is one of those years. 1983 was one of those years. 1978 was one of those years. So we all remember these 5-year prominent convention years. 1988 is such a one. Now, it would be very appropriate if missionaries who have been serving for a number of years in their assignments would have opportunity to visit their home country at that time. And they would be able to attend the convention and at the same time be with their families and friends. As in 1983, the governing body is arranging for these to be invited. And as it says here, like in previous 5-year conventions, would you like to make possible contributions to enable to cover the transportation costs to bring all these missionaries back? What do you say? Incidentally, in 1978, you contributed more than $1 million. And also in 1983, $1 million to cover all the airplane fare to bring back these thousands of missionaries. And we know that this announcement is going to get around pretty quick. This is one of the first conventions to hear this good news. The missionaries, far and wide, are going to be happy to hear that you're willing to support bringing them back. Here, congregations should not do anything regarding setting up contribution boxes until they receive information from the society. So this is just an advance notice what will be suggested later. Our aim is to finish joyously the work Jehovah has given us to do, even as our Master joyfully accomplished his work assignment in his time. And we know that in John 4:34, Jesus said that his food is for him to do the will of him that sent him and to finish his work. And we find that is our position too. So the day will soon be reached when Jehovah will say concerning the kingdom witness word, it is enough. We heard that in the public talk that was just given to us this afternoon. That time will come. But now, we're still in high gear with green light to keep preaching on a scale as never achieved before in the history of Jehovah's preaching works. It is our own due time, or in his own due time, Jehovah will reveal his will in this matter. Reassuring to know that, as in ancient past, when he used prophets to declare his judgment messages. The sovereign Lord Jehovah will not do a thing unless he has revealed his confidential matter to his servants, as we know it says in Amos 3:7. Therefore now, as we go from this convention and return back to our homes, we are fully resolved to press ahead in this marvelous work. And we appreciate our divine peace that we now have, and all this strengthens us then to share in this marvelous preaching work ahead. Let us be thankful to the God of peace for all that he has done to fully equip us to do his will. And so we wish to say, like Jesus said at John 17:4, I have glorified you on earth, having finished the work you have given me to do.